I wanted to get started with our cross-platform panel. My name is Steve Masur, and I'm really excited about who we have on the panel today. This is going to be a really fun one. And I want to encourage, if you have questions, definitely raise your hand and I will attempt to work you in there. I save it for the end if you can, but if it's something that you think is really relevant just right at that moment, I'll try to work you in the middle as well. So the panel is going to be about, basically, I'm just opening it up and calling it sort of cross-platform. So cross-platform media, cross-platform entertainment. And what's great is the panelists that we have today are from really all sections of media and entertainment and some technology. And you know, we're more and more in a world that doesn't have really the defined business models that we're used to. And this has caused a lot of challenges, I think, for media executives and for anyone who's trying to access a market or an audience. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The way I sort of framed it when we were preparing for the panel is for each person to talk about maybe a failed cross-platform presentation and then some successful ones. Because I think we're still very much in the experimentation phase where we've got a number of old media that are starting to sort of flag a little bit in the revenue department, new media that are starting to burst forward at different rates and in different contexts. And so that's the environment that we're faced with. I'm Steve Masur. I'm a partner at Cowen Debates, Abrahams and Shepherd, and I run the Venture Law Group in association with a few other partners there. One of the reasons that I'm doing a venture law program at an entertainment firm is because I see there as being a huge, you know, not like a 5-year opportunity, but more like a 20 or 50-year opportunity at sort of blocking and tackling how the entertainment business models grow in a you know, technology-influenced world. And I think we've already seen in the last 10, 15 years how complicated that can be and how various the business models can be, but we're really only at the beginning. I mean, if you look at it in the context of cable TV, in the beginning of cable, you had only a subscription model, no ads. And I think if you look at music services like Spotify, and we have one such representative on the panel, and also companies like Netflix, you see, you know, more or less the same thing, just a single model, and now they're starting to move off into other ways of making money. And we're really just at the beginning of that cycle. So with that, I'm going to let the panelists each introduce themselves, starting with Paul from Viacom.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody. So my name is Paul Kelly, and I work for Viacom Media Networks, specifically on the music channels, MTV, VH1, and CMT. And I lead our efforts in connecting our assets, brands, and capabilities in the music space to the marketing objectives and needs of the advertising community.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Nick Mara. I run global media and entertainment partnerships for Spotify, based out of our Los Angeles office. And that's just a fancy way of saying, how do we partner as a company? How do we partner with traditional media companies, from television to film to sports to radio to print and everything in between?
Hi everyone, I'm Harvey Schwartz. I run the talent group at a company called Husay, venture-backed, creative artists. Amazon and Comcast are our partners. We're a publisher for celebrities. We have about 2,000 that utilize our services. And we are a multi-publisher to all the destinations, and we integrate brand opportunities through our platform. We're about 5 years old, and I'm happy to be here with you guys today. Thanks. Hi,
I'm Abby West. I'm the executive editor for Essence.com, and I've been with Essence for about 2 years now. But I've been a fan of this brand, which is now celebrating its 45th anniversary this year, my entire life. So I've been really privileged to work for the last couple of years, being part of the team that's really helped to grow our cross-platform success. And I'd love to talk about it.
I'm Lisa Birnbach. I'm a writer. I work for myself. I'm self-employed. I've had many failures. I've had many successes. I've been lucky. I've been on both sides as both the writer of content and the, for lack of a better word, star of content. And now I'm happy to be here on a stage where I used to see marionettes and Gilbert and Sullivan when I was a child.
I didn't know they were here. I'm Melissa Palazzo, and I'm president at Ant Farm. I am a New Yorker, but I live in LA now, so I'm super excited to come here during the best weather that you guys have of the year, which is awesome. And I pretty much have the best job in the world because I get to work with the top creatives from all over, and our clients are the biggest names in entertainment, and together we create entertainment that transcends all platforms. For us, it's really not about the platforms, no offense to the name of the panel. It's really about the story, the content. I won't get into too much right now, but we believe that it's about making people feel. You know, I think that everyone's connected 24/7 right now, and my experience is that people are less connected than they've ever been to other people and themselves. So we have to make an emotional connection. That's our job, and hopefully we engage the audience and they have a partnership with the brand. And we'll talk a little bit about only the successes, unless you want to talk about my personal failures, of which I have many, but not professional.
Well, actually, I would like to ask you to delve in a little bit more into the story. What do you mean by the story?
The story, we have something that we call art. When we're talking with a client, we say we want to make art. Now, of course we want to make art, but it means a little bit more to us than that. It's really the letters that are represented there. So when we're talking about creating content or entertainment, we say, A, it has to be authentic. It has to be authentic to the brand. It has to be authentic to the celebrity, because we're talking about celebrities and brands collaborating. We're talking about our relevance. It has to be relevant. People have to really give a crap about what you're talking about. They have to want to be involved in the conversation. And T, it has to touch the audience. And what I mean by that is what I talked about briefly, is that emotional connection. I feel that stories, content, entertainment, they have to be almost human in nature. Brands are really human, but in brand form, and celebrities are brands in human form. And for me as a person, and at Ant Farm, we all crave that connection. You know, can I talk about one of my favorites, or should I just stop? Okay. One of my favorite properties that we work on is Call of Duty, and we partnered with Kevin Spacey for Advanced Warfare, which was the last, it was in 2014, we did the reveal trailer. And I think people thought that was a really strange partnership. Kevin Spacey, an Academy Award winning actor in a video game. And
not only a video game, but a shoot 'em up video game.
A first-person shooter video game. And I thought the idea was brilliant. I happen to be a huge fan of Frank Underwood. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about here, but I'm only on episode 3 of season 3, so don't say anything yet. But I thought it was brilliant. The character that Kevin, I have a hard time determining Kevin and Frank, and also he plays Jonathan Irons in Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare. And that character is a character that literally takes over a country. It's a sovereign nation. So one can only dream of that, Frank Underwood. And so it was a perfect partnership. And he had never done that before, that type of work. So he was extremely enthusiastic about participating, and he committed 100%. So the PR was just amazing. Intentional PR, the unintentional PR.
Is he a gamer himself?
He is not a gamer himself.
But Frank Underwood was.
Yes, and a rower, apparently. Not a gamer, but he got so into the idea of it that he actually spoke at the content marketing trade show, and he talked about what makes great content. And he also announced the Call of Duty reveal trailer at that time. So how the platforms really benefited, in my opinion, was, well, who does benefit, right? Is it Call of Duty? Is it Kevin Spacey? Is it House of Cards? And one could say they all did. I left my notes in my bag over there, so I can't give you the specific quotes. But on Monday, before I got on the plane, I just did a quick search on Twitter, and the guy said, there was several notes, but it said, every time I watch House of Cards, I want to play Call of Duty. And I mean, you just don't get better than that. It's such a beautiful connection. But my favorite story of all, because so many people want to talk about Kevin Spacey because he's just interesting, is that when he accepted the Golden Globe for Best Actor, my friend was watching it with her family, and her son Dustin said, "Oh my God, why is the guy from Call of Duty on the Golden Globes?" He had no idea what House of Cards was. So he transcended the brand, which in my world is the holy grail.
So the story is a story for Call of Duty or a story for House of Cards? Like
One would ask that question. One would ask that question. Or is it for Kevin Spacey, who's committed to the craft of authenticity? I don't know. I think that's exactly the answer.
And the numbers. So this Golden Globes announcement produced what in terms of numbers? Any way to measure?
The Golden Globes announcement numbers for who?
Right, for Call of Duty or for House of Cards.
He's also nominated for a BAFTA for Best Actor in a Video Game. Did you even know there was such a thing? I didn't until this week. And then the numbers, so specifically, the Call of Duty trailer on YouTube was the highest viewed video of the second quarter of 2014 when it was released. It was also, as far as Facebook goes, there were over 200,000 comments and likes and shares. There was tweeting all over the place. It's actually hard to tell exactly how many because of the way that is run. It was a big success. And we were super psyched to work on that. At least I was.
So over to Viacom and back to the numbers. Is TV dead?
Well, A, no. B, I'm not the guy to answer that question. That's above my pay grade. But we don't approach, I think similar to what Melissa was saying, we don't approach content through the singular lens of linear television. We have the benefit and the challenge of having a young audience that renews itself every year, changes its values. We lose, as there's an MTV channel called MTVU, which is our college channel, and we say to ourselves that we lose 25% of our audience every year, and we gain a new 25%. So movement, change is constant, certainly in the media world. And I think we've elevated our approach from looking at social and digital and these other screens as a promotional or ancillary vehicle, supportive vehicle to a core linear experience, and rather instead at the very inception of the creative idea, bring those technology platforms and bring those behaviors that are native to those platforms into that creative and ideation process.
Okay, so in other words, you suspect that maybe TV is the leading force in terms of numbers, but you're open to just starting right at the beginning with the technology platforms, whatever they may be for the particular product, because maybe one of them will blow up and eclipse TV, or how do you think about that?
I think about it that it's a screen agnostic world again. I don't think that TV is just bigger in terms of numbers. I think that there's TV is still, for many types of content, obviously live programming and live tentpoles, the Oscars, the Grammys are big recent events. I think it's fair to say that that is the best way to experience those, but that experience is enhanced substantially if they are programmed in such a way that the audiences can participate and share in the experience. And as I said, that means to fully achieve that potential, it means thinking about those behaviors and those platforms, which are obviously also moving and developing quickly at a much earlier stage. than looking at them through the, as I said, maybe the older way of, well, that would be cool to do as a promotional tactic around a show.
Okay, so it's not only in the ideation for a campaign around a show, but also in the product of the show itself.
Absolutely right. You know, audience engagement for many of our music formats, the VMAs and TRL, when you're dealing with big music talent, invariably, whether you are helping it or not, the experience is social because it's something that people want to talk about and share. So we try and identify tools and pathways to help facilitate and support that engagement.
And can you think of any interesting ones to talk about now? So sort of successful cross-platform promotions, successful integrations of other technologies with big artists.
So using the VMAs, there was an article in TechCrunch, I think 2 days ago. Obviously, they're doing tremendous numbers on that platform, having launched the Discover feature as well. We piloted, at the time, I believe, a new program with Snapchat and basically announced our nominees for the VMAs in a certain category through Snapchat stories. And yes, we saw tremendous success, not just in terms of impressions, but I would say even more importantly, in terms of actual engagement, lean forward engagement. That was illustrative of, as I said, how these platforms can work symbiotically together.
So nobody at the beginning of Snapchat could figure out how Snapchat was going to be a media property or drive revenue at all. So how does it work?
Well, I can't speak for Snapchat and how their business model works. I can only refer to the recent press that has demonstrated, you know, huge audience growth on that platform, and we've also seen it for our own owned and operated Snapchat presence. I believe our year-over-year growth is at 3,000%. So, and that's just Snapchat. I think Facebook Video is also doing tremendous results, and I think a lot of that, or certainly a significant portion, is driven by big live televised programming events.
So Nick, can you tell us a little bit more about what is Spotify doing as it relates to other platforms?
Sure. You know, the mission that I've set for ourselves is for media and entertainment partnerships, at least, is enabling media and entertainment companies simply to leverage music and leverage what we're doing with music specifically to offer their audiences new engaging experiences across their platforms. And so how do we do that? There are a couple of different buckets. One is something I call curation as content. And that's creating a branded custom presence on Spotify, whether it's for your network or your studio or for your show or for your magazine, if you will. And that's kind of your home on Spotify, where you curate all of your branded playlists. It could be a soundtrack for your show or for your film. It could be a playlist that's curated by talent, or a character-based playlist, or a 1984-based playlist if it's a early 80s show. So why would you do that? I think a couple of reasons. One is increase fan engagement, first and foremost. Second is our audience is about 60 million monthly actives, give or take.
60 million monthly active Spotify subscribers.
Spotify users, I would say 15 million of those are actually monthly paying subscribers. And the
other ones are ad supported. Sorry to.
Yes, no, that's fine. Yep, they're ad supported. About 67-ish% of those are millennial users. And so you're not only increasing fan engagement, but you're also attracting a much younger audience. And then the third is using our platform as a way to amplify your brand or your show or whatever medium we're talking about. And then so that's the first bucket, kind of on our platform. The second, where it gets a lot more interesting, is on your web properties or on, on your mobile properties, using our technology, whether it's our widgets or our APIs, to create listening experiences across your own platforms. So that could take the form of any of those playlists that you curate, actually embedding those on your show site, creating a more sticky experience rather than sending people over to Spotify to listen to music. Or an API, for example, to offer your users a episode by episode track list of like what you heard on last night's episode of Grey's Anatomy. Go to abc.com/music to hear all the tracks or stream all the tracks.
Can you explain? I mean, I think that it's far too little explained what an API is and how it can be used.
So that's a larger question, but I think in summary, it's leveraging our technology to create or build your own apps, mobile apps, or a user experience on your website.
So basically, in your example, you're giving ABC the opportunity to access directly the Spotify data
Exactly.
in order to use it on their website.
Leveraging we've got 35 million tracks in our database, growing by 20,000 a day or something like that. So yes, we are enabling them to leverage that database of music to offer a new experience to their users.
And they would promote it on television.
There are companies that we have partnered with in the past, Bravo being one of them. There's a laundry list of others on the cable side that we have received on-air promotion, like I said, with that ABC example, which is just an example, by the way, driving to their web or mobile properties. And the third piece, really, you mentioned data earlier, the third piece, which I think is really fascinating, is data. And we are in 58 markets around the world. Those 60 million monthly actives that I mentioned are spending on the order of 150 minutes per day across platform on Spotify, so more than all other social networks combined. And there's 1.5 billion playlists that are created and on Spotify right now, give or take. So there's a tremendous amount of data at our fingertips. I like to think of ourselves as the world's greatest real-time focus group for music. And so what can we do to productize that data and to offer it to partners? It could be things like, so we worked with Paul and his team around VH1's You Ought to Know concert at the end of last year. It's a great year-long program that surfaces up-and-coming rising talent like Sam Smith. Believe it or not, he was up and coming a year ago. Bleachers, Tovlo, great artists, and we partnered with them to supply them with stream data. So if someone were to listen to Sam Smith, for example, in the voting period leading up to the live show, that would count as a vote. If they were listening to Bleachers, that would count as a vote. And so that's just an example of kind of stream to vote where it can power a contest or an award show or a specific award.
So screen to vote was that like a sweepstakes, or was it a gamification process?
No, it was more of a the ultimate live event, You Ought to Know live event at Hammerstein in November, was really to crown the artist of the year. And so Spotify was one of the two levers that were used to crown that artist of the year, Sam Smith, ultimately. There are other ideas. I mean, we could work with.
How do you make money from that? You charge Viacom, or how does it work?
No, it's a good question. I think it's on a deal by deal basis. There's no kind of set answer there. But there's a lot of value in it for Spotify as far as just brand exposure, right, and getting our tools out there. There's a tremendous amount of value for Viacom.
So that's on screen. They're saying Spotify's name, and then maybe people will sign up.
So talk about Crest Lab. platform. We're talking television, we're talking web, we're talking mobile, we're talking on Spotify itself also. So it was truly a cross-platform effort. And there are other examples of ways that partners can leverage our data. We are working with a big radio station globally, as well as a TV network, to create new segments and new programs, standalone programs that are based solely on Spotify streaming data. So it's powerful. It's how do we kind of bring context and an editorial voice to what's happening with music. I think a lot of you have read that the download business is it's not dead, contrary to what some people write. It's declining at a pretty fast clip. So, we don't want to go.
How many people download music? And how many people stream music, like with Spotify or SoundCloud? Right. So there's our little informal poll.
So we, we don't want to go into a media partner and say, hey, we think.
How many people illegally download music?
We don't want you to do away with that revenue stream. We want to, given the audience that you are trying to attract, which is primarily millennials, we want you to, or enable you to offer, a mechanism that your audience is actually looking to interact with, which is streaming music. That's how they're consuming music today. So that's part of kind of our value proposition. I'll stop there.
Okay, so one of the things that has as sort of I'm kind of a strange fish. I'm a tech lawyer and also an entertainment lawyer. So something that's always bugged me is the propensity of the tech business to throw the baby out with the bathwater and kind of forget about, 2,000 years or 150 years or 50 years, however you want to see it, of knowledge that the entertainment industry has learned about celebrity engagement and about how long shows should be, how long a commercial should be, when is it too much, when is it too little, there's a lot of knowledge there that and a lot of learning that I think can be brought to the technology business. It can be brought to the new platforms that are happening. So for Harvey, I'm really interested to hear more about especially celebrity engagement, because a lot of people in the entertainment business really see this as the kind of one of the linchpins, one of the key drivers of launching a successful entertainment product, full stop. When you're producing a movie, you try to get good names attached to the movie, and that's what brings the money, and that's what brings the distribution deal. And then when you move over into entertainment, you have, I don't want to call out any names, but you have companies that sort of see the product as the product and not the entertainment product as the product. And that to me has led to a lot of not enough money being made in our business. So I want to hear more about what Harvey has to say about that.
So I do believe this is a pivotal year for celebrities, Hollywood, and social. We sort of plateaued on the social side, Snapchat, of course, and WhatsApp, and the messaging apps are starting to take shape. But social currency is real. People are getting movie deals based on how many followers they have. They're getting brand deals based on how many followers they have. But brands are also getting smarter, knowing that a lot of those followers are fake. Engagement levels are not what they appear to be. So there's sort of a devil's in the details sea change as well. So where we sit is in the middle of that all, because we provide a publishing service for celebrities that started out with Facebook, Twitter, actually MySpace at one point, and is now transitioning from social, still holding on to social, but now going out to partners. So our service now reaches people.com, Huffington Post, Flipboard, Tango, which is a messaging app. I don't know if any of you know, it has 200 million active users. So there's actually a lot more people on different sites, mainstream sites, that we need to connect to whenever we empower the celebrities with their content. So I think it's interesting, as deal flow has come through Whosay, we've earned over $2 million for celebrities in the last quarter. because brands are now looking at this as a way to get organic reach, and they're looking to do it in a smart way. So I think the real key here is the smart way. So we all know that there's the pay tweet model where you see a hashtag ad and it's like this person is just selling something. And what we're trying to do, similar to what you guys do at AntFarm, is empower the content creator, not so much in a scripted way, but an example we did is with JCPenney, and they had this idea of, let's do something, give back to people during the holiday season. It's a philanthropy campaign, but help us do that. So we had this brand brief, and we provided it to a few celebrities. I'll give you one name because it was so good. John Stamos picks it up and goes, I got an idea. Here's what I'm going to do. And he's like, I'm going to go in disguise. I'm going to walk into a JCPenney. I'm going to give $5,000 to anybody who walks in at the register and buy their presents. And I'm going to hide in the background. I'm going to film it. And that's going to be my give back for the holiday. We didn't say anything. We said, are you kidding me? And he said, yeah, no, this is what I want to do. Great. So he put it on his disguise. With his iPhone and his friend, he filmed it. And we delivered this hashtag Just Got Jingle campaign for JCPenney, and it was off the charts, engagement, video views, everything. The key to the story was we distributed it everywhere, which is to your point about cross-platform, be everywhere. But secondly, on just the content side, you've got to give the people who are active and native to social their own sort of keys to drive their car. You can't box them in. So give them the brand brief, but let them come up with creative because they're smart, they're creative, they're fun people. And I think the brand benefits by loosening up a little bit and not being so scripted. And then the win is you can potentially get something viral. You're never going to get something viral with something scripted unless you do like an Uncle Drew, like a Pepsi campaign where it's really smart. But most of the time it will fail because you're tapping into the existing celebrity base and not giving them the freedom to create. So the learnings here are engagement can be super high. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. Hit every distribution and then move across social to messaging apps like Snapchat and Tango, and then try to get in with partners like People.com and HuffPo and Us Weekly so that the content gets distributed out through social and reaches the mass audience, the potential mass audience. So that was sort of a learning and a big win. And now we sort of understand how engagement rates can go over 15% when they're typically 1%. And also when we talk to the brands, we say, this is the formula for success. And it's enabled us to bring in more opportunities and empower the talent, which is the reason they're working with us, is actually give them that kind of freedom and also the monetization lanes to succeed. And like I said, the sea change is happening now. We're seeing brands come into the space, look for organic reach, and look for partners that can be at the high level, brand safe, but also creatively open. And,
So I have a question for the audience. So how many people use their mobile phone to make phone calls every day? How many people use it for text messaging every day? How many people every day use their mobile phone for email? How many people every day use their mobile phone for Line? Line.
yeah, Japanese.
Line. So Line is a messaging app. It's extremely popular outside the U.S.
Oh, I thought you meant just being dishonest.
How many people use their mobile phone every day for LinkedIn email? How many people use their mobile phone every day for Facebook Messenger? And how many people use their mobile phone every day for Snapchat? All right, have I missed any?
Twitter.
Twitter.
Instagram.
Do y'all use Twitter? Do y'all use Twitter as a way to talk to each other or as a way to sort of broadcast something that you want to share?
That's true.
As a way to message, private communications. Okay, all right. All right, so I just thought it would be good to talk about, because we always talk about the messaging apps. Well, what are the messaging apps? Every year there's a different one that's popular. Would you do a Spotify campaign using LinkedIn email? I don't think so. So maybe, but I don't know. In terms of
By the way, we're early days. We're working with Tango, and we see above Instagram type engagement. We have celebrity channels on Tango, and they get by far the highest engagement across any of the socials. So I think we're just in the inning one on, well, Snapchat's obviously come out with it, but that is the next frontier of engagement. Even though we're not on it yet, the kids on Snapchat are on it, and you see the numbers, they're off the charts. We see the similar thing with Tango. So
Okay, so you think, so let's talking the aggregate, the messaging apps. WhatsApp, in terms of engagement, how important are the messaging apps versus a TV ad or a Facebook or a tweet? Like, how does it play out across that particular type of media?
I mean, it's reaching people where they are, and it's because it's early days, you're seeing great engagement. It's like the early days, you do get the pure sense, the unfiltered, the no algorithm, the no edge rank, the no noisy feed. So you're going to see these crazy numbers off of Snapchat. When WhatsApp comes up with their content strategy, it's going to be massive with 700 million users. You have to tap into that. I mean, it's where people are spending a ridiculous amount of time.
Okay, so with these numbers, I always think they're a little suspect. You're going to reach all 70 million users?
No, but you're going to reach 50 million or 20 million. You're going to reach a scalable amount through their platform in a channel program.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
that was my little, my one thing I was interested in. So here's a whole nother kind of cross-platform, and that's cross-platform with other types of entertainment. So we have Abby from Essence, and my view of Essence originally was that it was a magazine, but now it just seems like it's much more. And she's doing a lot of live events with Essence and doing a lot of celebrity engagement stuff. So I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Essence is turns 45 this year, which is a long-standing history. It's had a tremendous connection with its audience and its readership for its entire existence. And we've branched into live events for years. Essence Festival in New Orleans celebrated its 20th anniversary last year. Had 550,000 people come to New Orleans on 4th of July weekend. This is the kind of power that we know we have because we connect with our audience. And that's the story really is about the authenticity and the connection.
So how many people, this is the live event in New Orleans, on
4th of July weekend every year. Last year was the 20th anniversary. Prince was our headliner. He killed it, as always. But we had 550,000 people attend this event. It has daytime empowerment scheduling where we also engage celebrities in that way. And we have a nighttime, 4 nights at the Superdome with celebrity music, entertainment of all sorts.
And how much Twitter traffic do you think that drives?
Insane. Of course, I left my notes over there as well. But we have, every year, we increase our social engagement across all platforms. We work with a wonderful company called Postano, who last year checked out the Superdome for us, as well as curated our social engagement. And our numbers across both Twitter and Facebook and Instagram have been, I'd say, going triple digit year over year. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been kind of it's been in a really interesting space. So we do that with the festival, and we also have these amazing red carpet events. Our Black Women in Hollywood event, which I can't believe it was only about 2 weeks ago. It's the Thursday before the Oscars. It was our 9th event, or 8th annual, sorry. But it's an event that is one of the hottest tickets in Hollywood for African-American actresses. It's a safe space for them to come and speak and have this place of community. It was an extension of our brand to begin with, and an event that is widely attended. We have presenting sponsors for it and whatnot. And this year we elevated that by having, by partnering with OWN, and it was broadcast for the first time that Saturday night, right before the Oscars. So that's another way we're taking our story as it is, our authentic story, and engaging with the celebrities who are already tied to our brand and extending it all to the different platforms. We meet our reader where they are.
Okay, well, thanks. So Lisa, you presented yourself as a freelance author in the introductions. What was the book that sort of put you on the map?
I wrote a book called The Official Preppy Handbook in 1980 when I was 3 years old. And to many people's shock, my own especially, it was a huge bestseller. It had a first printing of 5,000 copies. There was no promotional tour planned. There was nothing. All there was an appearance on the Today Show in which I was so nervous, my lips stuck to my teeth, and I came across as someone with a lot of sang-froid. Really, I was sedated and didn't have any foi. It was all cold, and I was barely awake. And for 2 years thereafter, I was on a book tour that never ended. And this was, of course, before Amazon, but the book was selling so briskly at $3.95 that I could call my publisher on a landline with a dial, call my publisher from wherever I was, possibly collect. Some of you don't know what I'm even saying. And the publicity department somebody would answer a phone, usually a female, and I would say, how many books are in print today? And the number would have significantly changed from the day before, where I, with a suitcase that was not on wheels, because those didn't exist unless you were a sample salesman, would travel every day. So that was my first experience with the media, other than being having a radio show in college. And thereafter, I was considered more of a marketing person than a writer. So when I wrote a proposal eventually for my second book, which was a college guidebook, when I turned in the 1,400-page typed manuscript on paper, double-spaced, on my electric typewriter. Somebody explain what that is. I'm too busy and too important. When I turned that in, my editor said, well, I knew you could promote. I didn't know you could write, which was really interesting thing to hear.
After you'd already put out a successful book.
Correct. So I have, I don't consider myself a literary writer by any means. I was an English major in college, and I yearned to be a member of that club. But I have been, I originally kicked and screamed my way into the 21st century. And now I am a tweeting enthusiast. I have I guess a very daily presence on social media. Again, originally because I was told by my publisher I had to, not because I wanted to. And I find that I enjoy it, but I'm hungry for more, to tell you the truth. I have also, in my career as a cross-promotional gal, I have had some really great fun and great success, and also some failures. In 2010, I wrote a book called True Prep, which was the kind of sequel, not sequel. It wasn't a sequel. I don't even know why I said that. It was a follow-up to the Preppy Handbook. For people with a long memory, because it was 30 years after the first book. And that book, of course, became a digital book, became an audiobook, which I myself narrated, and became an international experience with a cross-promotion, I think I'm using that term correctly, with Tommy Hilfiger, a division of Philips Van Heusen, based in Amsterdam now. And I had the very trippy experience of going around the world and seeing a cover of my book. This was not part of I didn't even know this was going to happen. Seeing 6-foot-tall replicas of my book in store windows in, I guess, maybe 5 continents, or I think we say on 5 continents. And people in other countries saying, well, I know this is how we dress in Mexico, but how do people dress in Denmark? And then people saying, well, I know this is how they dress in Korea, but how do they dress in Russia? And Russians saying, but I know this is how we dress in Moscow, but how do you dress in Chicago? And thinking, 30 years ago, I had to tell people in LA what a preppy was. And now this is just the default way around the world. So it makes shopping for me much easier, shopping for all of us much easier. And I now sort of understand what global branding is all about.
Why did you bring that up as a failure?
No, that was a success. Did I say that was a failure? I've had so many, it's hard to. No, the failure, as I mentioned to you before we began, was that the official Preppy Handbook, while I guess an international bestseller, I took out of print in 95, for reasons that at the time were very sensible and now seem sort of silly because there's no digital version and there's no enhanced reality, there's no augmented breasts, there's nothing. So,
So this is an
anyway.
example of something that is not cross-platform at all.
It hasn't been cross-platform, but I did discover years ago, and it keeps growing, that there is a world of bloggers. Well, you all know this. I didn't know this. The fashion blogger world is intense. They scare me. They care more about what I'm wearing than I care. They're people who are so specialized. They may have a blog about cufflinks. They may have a blog about mattress. They may have a blog about mattress cufflinks. I mean, it's very specific. They care deeply. I do feel like we're all, well, obviously we're all being watched, but I'm not.
Have you said anything today that causes you to be afraid about what might happen after the event?
I am afraid every single day. I am afraid. And if I haven't embarrassed myself to myself, I have 3 wholly owned subsidiaries who are mortified to be my children. So that just, and it's so easy to embarrass them. It's so much fun.
So to do over again, what would you do with the Preppy Handbook?
If I could do it over again, well, certainly I would. It would still be in print as an original title. That would be throwing off some income for me and my wholly owned subsidiaries. I would. We did a little merchandising in the 80s. We did some products that seemed to fit with what the ethos of preppiness was. And I got so much hell from people for selling out because I did 100% canvas tote bag that was really cute and that I really used. It was cotton, God damn it. I wasn't selling polyester. Anyway, sorry, emotional. So I would probably do a line of something now. And I do want to say that when I was promoting True Prep in 2010, the digital people at Alfred A. Knopf Publishers, which is a division of Random House, which is now Penguin Random House, had the musical playlist on our website. And I thought, oh, come on myself. I mean, it was a big deal. People loved it. And then, of course, I had to talk about
So this
vampire.
was Flock of Seagulls and Haircut 100.
Oh, how dare you? How dare you? Is he looking at me? It was Vampire Weekend, primarily Vampire Weekend, and it was people who went to prep school, like David Crosby. He did. It was, what else was in it? Mary Chapin Carpenter. She's such a preppy, I'm telling you. Anyway, James Taylor, because, drugs. Anyway, so that list, and I think Spotify was our search engine, was huge. And now Ezra from Vampire Weekend is following me on Twitter. Hello. Hello. And anyway, so that was really great. And I have so much more I want to do. So maybe I'll talk to some of you afterwards, because there's a lot to be said. And people on social media ask me every single day, what should they wear to this wedding? What should they wear to their job interview? Which kind of dog is preppier, their St. Bernard or their Lab? I mean, it is, I have written 22, Lab. I have written 22, good question. I have written 22 books, really. And I've written about a lot of subjects, and I write now about all kinds of things. All people want to know is what is the right answer of this universe. Luckily, I happen to know it.
Okay, so I just want to throw out some more numbers again. I mentioned that we have this transition of old media and new media all happening at the same time. And as these things often happen, it coincides with another cycle, which is the millennial cycle. And millennials are going to be the most populous population of humans ever to walk the face of the earth. And the way they think is not necessarily the way that we thought or the way that our forebears thought. And it's all happening at the same time while we have all of this new media and all these new ways of communicating. And so it really does bode for a brave new world and a new way of thinking about things. So I'm going to ask a question for anybody on the panel, and just more of a discussion topic. And it comes as a strange question, especially coming from a lawyer, but what is authenticity? Like, how do you create a authentic story in a cross-platform environment?
I would love to answer that. I will just say that I have a dear friend in the audience, Christine Hassler, who is a millennium expert, I think, written a couple of books. So if anybody wants to talk to her about the specific topic, but from authenticity, I think it has to go really to the human element at its core. You know, when I meet someone, I'm instantly making a judgment about that person. Are they being authentic or are they bullshitting me? Pardon my French. And immediately I'm attracted to them or not in a sexual way because I'm married, although that could happen too, I guess. But more specifically, I'm making a call if you're being real with me or not. And I think the same thing goes for a story or a piece of content or a piece of entertainment. The tagline in Call of Duty is power changes everything. Now, honestly, when I say that, I get chills because that appeals to the very core of my being, whatever that means to you. But to a lot of people, they want more power, whether it be to have more power at work, more power in their family, or more power that, you know, the light is changing at the right time in their street. So I think it has to appeal to the very nature of our human essence. People want to be better. They want to be bigger versions of themselves. So I think it's related to that.
Okay, so now we're using all these different platforms to help people be bigger versions of themselves.
Well, I agree with what Harvey said also, which is it's very uncomfortable to be given words to say if you can't feel at ease saying them. Mm-hmm. And there are so many examples of a kind of fake engagement that I see, and I don't know how I know it's fake, but I have a bad feeling about it. So-and-so is a celebrity who claims that this diet concoction works or something like that. You read that and you think, oh, come on, you didn't try that. It's not even medicine. It's not even Oprah approved. It's not even Dr. Oz approved. You know, it's not anything. And you realize that some people, you know, for good reasons, it's not their fault, or some people take gigs for the money because, you know, that's how everything works. But it doesn't feel good to see them doing that. It feels embarrassing.
If they did a commercial on TV, you'd have no problem with it, right? It's only because there's a direct connection on a social channel where you can't do that and sort of try to get away with it. But if
right. I mean,
it depends. I
think it depends, but it's certainly, there's no hiding from social engagement. If those aren't your words, that's icky.
I agree.
And I think it's a gut thing. I really do think it's a gut thing. And you talked about, this generation, the millennials. I think that their BS meter is stronger than any of us have had in the past because they are online. They are looking through everything. So, but
they don't seem to have an aversion to brands. I mean,
it depends. I think it depends.
When I was coming up, it was terrible to associate yourself with a brand. Brands were uncool. You would deface a brand and wear that as a punk rocker. And now, if you see a brand defaced, you almost presume that the brand itself did it.
Well, I think
that's a good point.
I think that a couple of brands are doing a really good job. Nike, for example, I think they do an excellent job with that generation. And because it's authentic, they give back and they really, I just think they do a great job. I think some brands don't do as good a job.
I think when you connect with when you connect with the celebrity who actually loves the product, that's the best. And we did a campaign with Dunkin' Donuts. Surprisingly, tons of celebrities love the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. So it's like, look at my coffee, and they weren't BSing. They love the coffee, and it comes through, and they share pictures, and it's those kind of moments can happen. I think you have to be smarter around connecting the right brand with the right celebrity to get that real endorsement instead of the fake one. Right.
I would frame it as, from a brand marketing point of view, that authenticity is truth, but that truth, each brand has their own truth. So, two examples, one in the music space, Converse, the sneaker company, the sneaker brand, obviously has a long history with the music industry, with artists. Jeff Cottrell, their CMO, a couple of years ago decided to spend what might have been traditional advertising dollars or budget and create a recording studio in Brooklyn called Rubber Tracks, where artists could come and not only use these state-of-the-art facilities for free, but actually keep the recording output, the actual music that they create in that studio, free of royalty and free of charge. I don't know how anyone could say that isn't authentic, and of course, it's a great shining example of engaging a community in a meaningful way. In this case, the artist community. But however, completely on the flip, you've got brands like T-Mobile, who are a renegade, rebellious brand, and we saw their Kim Kardashian spot on the Super Bowl. They're in on the joke. It was a humorous campaign. And, Danica Patrick and GoDaddy is another example. So their truth is different to that of Converse or indeed of Nike, but they're both authentic.
Yeah, I think the Danica Patrick on GoDaddy is very interesting because I don't know if, it took me a long time before I even associated that with speed. But that's why they chose her. She's a race car driver, and the idea is it's fast, the internet.
Can I just say, for us as a brand, that authenticity, that telling the story and having it in their own words, that's really been key for us. Even with, I keep going back to Prince last year, but for him, in a true partnership with him last year was his emphasis on bringing coding to the community. So we ended up partnering with Yes We Code and Van Johnson and having a hackathon at the festival. For us, it's really finding the things that are celebrities. We don't just want to slap them on the cover. We want to truly partner with them with things that they are also engaged in and where it aligns with our brand goals and sensibilities. As even if it's something as simple as Tracee Ellis Ross is our cover this month. And, she's known as the star of Blackish. She's a fantastic actress. She's also, within our community, a complete style crush. Like her style, she's a style icon and a hair crush. So we had a live event in Brooklyn last year, our street style event, which was the first of its kind. It had thousands of people show up underneath the Dumbo archway for this street style event to honor her as our style crush.
It was a freestyle event?
It was a free event, street style.
Street style.
Street style, but it was free as well. We had all these, it was actually, I think, during Fashion Week. So during Fashion Week, we had all these fashionistas show up in Brooklyn, dressed to the nines, to honor Tracee Ellis Ross and engage with us as a brand. And because that's really speaking to where all of our interests align. And I think that's really where it's key. We didn't put words in anyone's mouth. We weren't telling them, we want you to do this. It was finding a place where we met in the middle.
Okay, so that's associating brands with celebrity, and mostly that's what each person has spoken about. But what about self-identifying with the customer, the consumer, the media viewer, self-identifying with brands? Is that ever a goal of your cross-media promotions?
I think we should explain.
That one fell flat.
Tell me what you mean by self-identifying.
Well, yeah, okay, I'm a drummer, so I would wear a Zildjian t-shirt for Zildjian cymbals, and I would self-identify and think that that was cool because I like those symbols. The guitar player might wear a Fender t-shirt or Fender Converses. Doc Martens and Converse, as you mentioned, are music oriented.
Right. I think that one of the things that the internet has helped achieve is niche communities have been able to thrive. So in the analog world, quote unquote, you had Doc Martens, you Harley Davidsons, iconic brands that were, you know, held aloft by communities. And I think now those communities or those brands, Call of Duty is an example of a brand like that. And technology and digital distribution has enabled those communities to strengthen, to fortify, and to self-sustain.
What he said, that was good.
Yeah, I actually weigh in there. So it's great to hear your tie-in. My agency actually ran all the cross-channel online amplification of Call of Duty launch.
Oh yeah, I know Nancy.
Oh, Nancy, yeah.
Yeah.
She's my boss.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so we ran all the search engines we have there, as well as YouTube to consider that a search engine. And then we did paid media on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, within a 24-hour time frame, a couple $100,000 budget. So we had 10 million views of the Call of Duty trailer. So good work, us.
Good work, us.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to admit I have a very, Hi, my name is Julian. I'm going to admit I have a very warped sense of everything that you're all talking about. I have done TV movies on Broadway, but more to the point, I have been a personal assistant to celebrities, as well as spending a year of my life in the producer's office of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Yeah, I know, that's a conversation stopper. But my question is, when you were talking about branding, especially when I was in the office, would you, do you leave it to just the managers and the agents to try to take what we refer to as a B-listed celebrity to A-list by helping them in your office, Harvey, of like helping them be a person who will go out there and sell your brand, or do they have to be a brand to begin with? Do you have to be Kevin Spacey, or would you take that actor or that person who's right at the cuff and bring them to the next level?
It's actually a great question and something that comes up all the time because everybody wants, they come in and they give me Reese Witherspoon, give me Jennifer Aniston, and we say that you're crazy, they're beautiful, but you're gonna overpay for them. They're not acting on social, so that's a stopper anyway. But the point, to your point, the actual real ROI is in the middle of the pack, the rising stars, the millennials, the people who are enthusiastic. So we push people down to those people as what you're referring to because they're really excited to engage, to do it. They get into it. They create content. They want to outperform. They want to build it on the relationship. When you go to the top of the food chain, again, some of them are great, but a lot of them might just take a check. And again, it's very expensive at the top. So I love what you're talking about, and I think that is the future, and we try to surface that all the time.
I have a little bit of an answer to that too. It's a lot of hard work. It's a really difficult question to answer. And it's a hard work for the celebrity too. I was sort of tangentially involved in the Ciroc branding with P. Diddy, and he did a huge amount of work for that. He was totally committed. And the idea of somebody actually adopting a brand and saying, I'm going to own this brand and it's going to be part of what people remember me as forever, I think it's very difficult for a celebrity because you never know what's going to happen with that brand. So that's my short answer.
I think on the music front, it actually works better very often that way. When you've got huge artists, there's a scorched earth policy when it comes to their promo cycle and release windows. And ultimately what advertisers want to connect with is the audience's passion for music, which alongside sports is undeniable. So being able to curate, which is something that Nick and Spotify do so well, the next wave or rise of new artists, which is a cycle now that is much shorter than it ever has been, not only gives a brand, the right brand, I should say, meaningful association and a pathway to that connection. It also helps the labels and the music community surface new talent, which is a challenge right now. So I think that's a really powerful role that brands and media and content companies like Viacom can play and can contribute to the music industry and music community.
This question, my name is Amelia Moore, UBC TV, 20 years, 30 years in the music industry. Spotify, you know, you guys are really becoming the precedent. You know, I just had a conversation where now A&Rs are like looking at what is happening with you as far as researching new artists. What do you contribute that to? And then I wanted the second question to Ant Farm and Hussein, as far as when you're looking at new budding celebrities, how does your company help them get to that point where Viacom or an Essence would say, hey, let's incorporate them within it?
Sure, if I understand your first question correctly, talking about how we do a good job of surfacing rising artists.
Yeah, because they use it now as a criteria. They
Yeah.
want to know where are you on Spotify? How many playlists is your song on? So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I go back to kind of what I was talking about earlier around just the power of our data and how we slice and dice that. I think there are public-facing charts that we have, like the Viral 50, which you can slice and dice by all of our 58 markets and by various timeframes. We have the Spotify, the Viral 50, and then just the Spotify, I think, 200 or top 200. Same thing kind of across markets. So those are the sorts of outputs, if you will, that are publicly facing, that are driven by the data and kind of the algorithm that sits behind all that. It's you know, there are artists like Lorde, for example, or Hozier, and we by no stretch take you know, full credit for surfacing those artists, but I think we played a critical part in surfacing them over the last 1 to 2 years. Just two interesting examples. There are others. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Like the new Billboard.
New what?
New Billboard.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, we've got a great programming team. People always ask me, how are you curating all those, you know, those playlists that you guys have? And we've actually got human touch. I mean, they're aided by great tools and technology that we have, but we have human curators, and they use those tools and that data to curate amazing playlists that are surfacing not only rising talent, but kind of what's appropriate for a certain kind of moment in time or moment in our in our culture.
How would you compare those? I think of Pandora as a giant playlist generator, right? How would you compare those playlists to the Pandora playlist?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of people ask. It's a different. I wouldn't say it's a different business. It's kind of apples and oranges. Pandora is the product that they offer, the service they offer is one component of what Spotify offers, radio, Spotify Radio. So it's hard to make that comparison. It's you know, we view ourselves as an online music streaming company that, like I said, has 30 million songs, and you can access those on demand at any time across any platform. You know, Pandora, if you are a big Dave Matthews fan, you're creating a Dave Matthews channel, and you might hear Dave Matthews 4 times an hour or something like that. It's not an on-demand streaming experience.
Right. Playlists,
but it's
human touch playlists, and there's our too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think there are some similarities there, but again, it's I don't think it's totally apples to apples.
Right. Well, do y'all have any questions for each other?
No.
Sure.
Oh, there's
So just quickly, we empower the talent by giving them the tools to reach their fans across all of social and mainstream. And the best practices that we offer, which is, be yourself, find passion in what you do and share it. These are the obvious things, but they're the ones that work. So in a consultation, and by the way, our network is user generated. We don't post for people. We don't tweet for people. We give them the tools and empower them. So it would be a similar conversation that we're having now, which is this is what you should use, and this is how you should behave, and be true to yourself, find passion, share with your fans. They will come aboard, and enjoy it with you. And that's how you grow your audience. So there's no secret to that.
And I would just say from a story point of view, I think it depends where the brand is and where the celebrity is in their life. So I think back to 20 years ago when The Matrix came out, it was Nokia was, and The Matrix came together. At the time, no one even knew what The Matrix was, but everyone knew what Nokia was. And sort of one rose above the other, if you will. And I think about BMW when they partnered with Mission Impossible. It's really about the story and what is a good fit. There's something I'm thinking about right now, but it's confidential and proprietary, so I can't say what it is. But I think in the next year, there will be a new car that everybody's really interested in because of a specific partnership that we're working on.
Could you be any more oblique?
I don't think I can. So it really starts with the story and if it's a good fit or not.
I have one question. When's Preppy Handbook 3 coming out? Yeah.
We can talk about
Right?
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
For
I
the
think
prequel.
that's it. I really enjoyed this panel, and thanks for all the